Hi, everybody, and welcome. Hi, Sohini. How are you?
Hi, Anthony. I'm good. How are you?
Um, yes, good, perfect. I'm happy to be
Awesome.
here with you once again because, oh yeah, last week we were not streaming, so it's
Mm-hmm.
like there is something is missing in my life. I want to
Yeah,
stream more. What happened? So we had a quick issue, technical issue, let's say.
it was an all
That
snap moment. All snap. Just
yeah.
like we get in Google. Yeah, the same all snap.
So we decide we had the possibility to stream, but in not with the right tools or with the right environment. So we decide to cancel it and ensure we can have high quality ones 1 week after. So I think it's a good idea. Anyway, I prefer to do things right instead of trying to uh, they why hey, this is what you say in English. So when you try to fix everything at the last times and finally
Yeah,
didn't
it
have
becomes messy.
the right. Yeah, messy. Exactly.
Yeah.
um yeah. So now today, oh yeah, so 2 weeks ago, what do we talk about? We talk about PBCs versus pseudo PBCs. So it was the
Mm-hmm.
time, it was the moment we define what is a PBC, a package business capabilities, and what is a pseudo PBC. So two notions that are very close and help them to define, let's say, modules we can share across a hub using an application composition platform.
Right.
3 weeks ago, I think I'm not wrong, it's 3 weeks ago, we defined what is or what are the different kinds types of Entendo components.
Mm-hmm.
So from microservice micro frontends to CMS or content and layout components. So more platform oriented components. So the good point is we define, let's say,
Most of the, yeah,
yeah,
like
the let's say we
fragments.
define the component that is the low level elements of
Yeah, of what we're going to talk about
sharing,
today.
yeah, of the modules of the sharing elements. Then
Mm-hmm.
we talk about PBCs. That is probably the business level of that, a kind of the highest level of elements you can share and define. And now we are moving to the mid-level but still technical level with Entando bundles. So that
Right.
is very important because this is the way Nintendo decide to implement these modules and how we can define these bundle blocks technically and all it's for developers, all you need to deal with, all you can define them, and so on. So we talk about that also with the Nintendo Hub recently. So you can share and define bundles using bundle groups, and those bundles could be PBCs. But I'm talking too much because I have a lot of content to share before, and we will go into discover it step by step. So,
Yep.
by the way, if any of you have, any question or things that need to be modified, or let's say explain more, feel free to interact with the chat. So
Please
we are
engage. Yep.
yeah, we can ask, or we can, let's say, answer all the questions you have, and it will make sense for us to spend time.
Yep.
Good. Here we go. So all about Entando Bundle. So this is what we are talking about today. So the bundle term is really. Let me 1 minute. This is a bundle. So especially for people that are not English native, maybe it can be a bit strange to say, what they want to mean about that. What exactly the term bundle is. Oh, hi, Alex. Happy to see you here.
Hey, Burrito.
Just take a coffee. So this is a bundle. Well, to be honest, this is a shoe bundle. So I bought shoes, and they sent me that. So that's good anyway. And we can say that this is a component. So you can say that a building block. So this is a component. So I can have multiple components like them. So I can play with them, and I can decide to use ones and compose with all these elements. So let me just 1 minute. I can remove the presentation so you can see
yourself. Yep.
Yeah, maybe you can have a better view of that. So if you check that, you can see that I can compose element like this, so I can decide to change my mind because I need to have a different application using building blocks in different ways. So definitively, this is the idea of building blocks. So you can play with them, using and reusing them. So I can have this one, but I can reuse another instance of these same components in another page or another application. But the thing is, if I want to share them, if I want to also analyze them or to make it them consistent, defining a business approach of these elements, because these elements are the lowest level you can have. So it makes sense to use them, but it also makes sense to make them compliant with the definition of a hub, that is, we can share elements, bundles across teams. So what I need to have is something that will help me to, if I put these elements into that, and I can, you can have description in it. So when you open it, then first you can close it, and I can say, hey, Sohini, there is my bundle. Please just open it, check what you have here, and you can understand that what you have inside are components. What you need to do here, I don't want to, I'm advertising for.
Oh yeah, that's disclaimer. Yeah, we're not.
Well, this video is not sponsored. Yeah,
by the figure.
by Vibram. It's not sponsored by Vibram, but well, by the way, this is a Vibram bundle. That's right. But yeah, the thing is, you can see that you have elements. It's like when you have something, you can see that you have the descriptions, details about what you have into your bundles. But this is the same with the components. You have the components, and you have all the elements that are inside that explain that, oh, this micro fontaine, let's say, for example, need well, I don't know, maybe to have this macro service running somewhere else in your environment. So anyway, the thing is, and we talk about PBCs, but technically we will see that multiple bundles can make a PBC, and this is why we need to define bundles, because bundles is a different level. It's more about, I have components, I have some bundles, that's one or multiple bundles that make a PBC. So I'm just,
Yeah.
my wife will
Let's.
not be happy if I stay the bundle everywhere. So this is why I need to clean a little bit my room. Uh, yeah. So this is why we need to talk about bundles, and this is the reason why we decide to make this live. That is very important to understand. So let's. Whoa, too fast. Do you know what is a bundle? I already say the answer. So let's say now you know what is a bundle. So let's
Yep.
move directly to the pipeline. So the composable business application pipeline, sometimes we call that the journey. So that is very important because we can understand where bundles are used. So
Mm-hmm.
if I, for some people, for people that didn't uh, spend time or didn't see it before, let me explain you quickly what we have. So we define 4 different roles that are creator, curator, composer, and consumer that makes the composable business journey real. So the first role is creator, that basically creates, develop, and define components. So then they package that into these elements, components, they package that and they push that to the creator. The creator manage the hub. So the hub is the place where you can find all the elements you can use for your composable application. So that means it's a catalog. It's basically a catalog where you can find all these elements. So from all these elements, you can decide to which one you want to use and compose your apps. This is the role that belong to the composers. So the composers select the elements,
Mm-hmm.
use them, and compose the final application. Then the consumer represents the business person that will use this application. So they can give feedbacks, they can decide to tune a little bit, checks also through analytics. Oh, the application is working, what we need to do, and what are the next, priority, what are the priority of the next tasks that are incoming, in the pipelines for the team. So all these people can work under the same organization, that is a fusion team, so that contains creator, curator, composer, and consumer. And what do we need bundles, and why bundles are interesting is from the creator to the curator, it's important to make, or let's say to organize components in a good way, in a current way. So that means I can have, let's say, 5 micro fountains for one needs, and maybe I can have also, excuse me, I'm speaking French, I'm speaking English. I'm putting some OC is the name for also in French, so maybe it's too close for my mind.
Have.
Also, yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So also you can have I was saying you can have multiple micro contents, and you can have different layouts or CMS contents, and probably you want to separate all these 2 different elements because and ensure that the composer can install one element, so all these elements one time. So imagine you have, let's say, 15 micro fountains. If they can only install one by one, it will be a nightmare for them. So it's
Mm.
like you can't really be at the lowest level. You need to have a mid level that allow you to make consistent the way you are sharing all these components. So you can say that, hey, please find my 2 micro fountains with my microservice, and so if you install it, you will be able to use it in your application for sure. And you have my 3 different layouts and my CMS content you can find in any other bundle. So this is why it's important to understand that. So the creator will make it current by designing that components, and so it will send it to the curator that will check, do the analysis, check all these elements, and ensure that everything is correct to be used then by the composer. So if there is something wrong between the creator and the composer, it will make the final application not very good, or maybe the developer experience, let's say, average.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the next thing is we need to understand what the difference is between the PBC and the Nintendo bundle. because sometimes we talk about PBC, sometimes we talk about bundles, sometimes we talk about bundles into PBCs, and it could be a little bit or not clear for people that are joining or learning composable applications, and they don't will not understand that. But you say this is a PBC, and now you are saying that this is a bundle, but what is the difference? Well, it's pretty clear. It's the PBC is the business level. The PBC definitively represents a business value, something that is defined by the business. So a PBC will be, for example, this is what Massimo told us, is a good PBC, a good example of PBC is a task calculator. So if you have a PBC that is a task calculator, you will have the different components that could be macro frontends that, let's say a form, and you can have a backend that will I don't know, apply calculation or do the calculation for you. So you will call it through your micro frontend. So you can understand that, oh, okay, so my PBC will contain two components. But let's say no, you want to not only deliver a simple tax calculator, but also let's say different version of it, or pages for task calculating that include more element than that, and also maybe that include, I don't know, some contents, CMS contents. So what you will do is to have the first bundle that contains the micro frontend in the microservice, the same that I defined before, and maybe the second bundle that will contain the page layout, the you need to let's say, because this is your XYZ task calculator company, so you will have maybe your CSS files, you will have in it a sample page that contains all the footer, all the elements you want, and maybe description that come with. So that means people can decide to use one bundles or the two bundles, but definitively these two bundles represent the PBC, so the business. Right. So this is why we said the PBC is at the business level. It represents a reasonable business capability, tax calculation. So it composed of one or more bundles. So this is what I was saying now is you can have one bundle that will contain some components and another one that will contain the others. So PBC interface is same of bundle interface. So of course that means you can access the PBC through different different bundles. So it depends. It will really depend on your PBC, of course, but that means a PBC is made of one or multiple bundle. So now when we are talking about bundle, we can say that this is the technical level. So this is, I call that the mid level, because of components that will be the low level element, but it's still with components the technical level. So this is the deployment unit for PBC. So we say that before, because creator will define components as bundles, or let's say package them with using bundles, so you can deploy a component only by using bundles. So this is the deployment you need. What next? It collects different kind of components into a single manifest. This is my bundle. Exactly that. This is exactly that.
Yes,
one package. Yeah, one package, one manifest, multiple components.
Yes.
Natural extension point for customization, of course. So the idea is if you want to create your bundles or your component from existing one, you will extend the bundle, and enable parallel vertical teams to contribute to a single PBC. So that means, that is, by the way, very, very interesting point is most of the time we are thinking about, oh, we can make vertical teams, define them by business units or business features, but inside this team we can also have vertical subdivision by defining different bundles And
Mm.
so that means, for example, you can have a team that will, I don't know, define some components, a micro front end specialized team, and you will have people that will take care all about the CMS component elements, all
Mhm.
the element that define um, this content. So this is
Mm.
why this is a good point. And finally, you will have your PBC. Uh,
Mm.
Next step. So we can
These
define
are,
two types.
yep,
Yeah.
these are
Yeah.
the
So
two
go ahead.
types. Now, I was just going to say, well, technically, these are the two types of bundles
Hmm.
that we have. And yeah, like Anthony will explain these two bundles, these two types very well to us so that
Yeah.
we're absolutely
Yeah.
clear.
From the
Yeah.
beginning, I said you can have bundles with micro frontends, and you can have in
Mhm.
microservices, and you can have bundles that define content, CMS content, layouts, pages, and so on. And I was not saying that by for nothing. I mean, because this is exactly what functional
The
bundles
reason.
are and layout
Yeah.
bundles are.
Mm-hmm.
So if we define quickly these two types of bundles, we can say that the first one, functional bundles, mostly contains micro frontend and microservices. So you can have also backend for frontend that is a specific pattern for microservices and micro frontends. Excuse me, but and one other element is these components are not specific, so that will contain non-specific platform components. So if you don't know what are specific and non-specific platform components, I suggest you to check the previous live we made about component types.
Mm.
So that is
Yes.
exactly the same idea. So if you have non-specific Nintendo components, then you can put them into a functional bundle. So that will be the case if I have three micro front end using my microservice, and what I want to do is just retrieve this bundle, start everything locally. I can have React running locally, and of course having my backend Spring Boot micro front end microservice running locally too. So
Mm.
maybe I will need to mock some part of my application because I can have everything running. But anyway, it's a good point to test, develop, and improve my different components without needing to deploy it on the application completion platform.
Right.
It's highly reusable, of course, because that means it's basically application we use every day. So the idea is you can reuse them across different applications and even different teams.
And I
And
think that's a
it's
plus. That's a very nice benefit of functional
mm,
bundles, right? Yeah.
yeah, and even I will say that if you already have macro front ends, or let's say
Mm.
even a front end app, you can split into different micro front end, or you can have you can already have microservices. You can easily define them as components and put them into bundles. So this is not something that is very different from developing common application nowadays. So
Mhm.
this is why also moving to an application composition platform is not something very difficult for developers in this way, because if you already know what is a micro front end, what is a microservice, how to develop them, what you need to do, how to define APIs, interfaces, and so on, it will be the same. Well, anyway, then we have the layered bundles. So the layered bundles is, of course, it will include, you understand that. So it will include
Mm.
more platform specific components
Right.
compared to the functional ones. So this element could be CMS components, page layouts. So page layouts are the way you are rendering elements in pages. So
Mhm.
also that is it could be very important. Let's say, for example, you have a big company that wants to uh, have different application have the same look and feel. So that is important if you can share layouts, templates, even contents across multiple applications. So people will
Mm.
don't need to think about, do I need to display that following my the guidelines of my company? No, you define it once, you share it across all your different teams, and they just need to focus on the business they want to cover. That is a very good point. And by the way, I know that from my experience that is a very painful task to
Mm,
trying to be, compliant with the company guidelines every time,
yeah.
especially when it changes. When all
Mm,
these elements are changing, you need to make all these changes into your applications. And let's say you are using bundles that contains this kind of component. You can easily imagine, oh no, I need to have a new version of that. And if I have a
mm,
new version of that, if I am deploying, I will deploy a new version of that. People just need to upgrade their different models, layouts, and so on. And so they will able to apply it into their application. So that is a good point for starting new application, but also to uh, keep all these application coherent across or inside your company.
I just wanted to say, like, these platform-specific components can only run inside Entando. So this is a very important thing when you come to layout bundles, uh, and when you think of platform-specific components, they can only run inside of Entando.
Mhm.
And so, as Anthony said, that they deal with page management and content area. So one more benefit of this is, just as Anthony said, is your company's got a content team, so this can really help your content team be free of work with the help of these, platform specific components. They don't need to think a lot of work, you know, very
Mhm.
hard to put up stuff. So, yeah, go on.
Yeah. So just to finish with this layout bundle, so uh, yeah, you can start your kit and deploy one, so you can update components. So it's owned by the front end or content team.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, then you have the layout bundle practices. So oh, just wait a minute. I'm sorry, I have an attendee here. Yeah,
That's our little attendee.
yeah, I have
We're,
my little attendee. Oh, unfortunately, Tim is sick, so I'm so sorry. I just need to deal with
so
that.
sorry.
Yeah, it's not
Is
the
it the
first
little
time, but
one?
he's here. Yeah, the youngest one. So
Oh, I'm so sorry she's not feeling well.
yeah,
Well, she can also be around us and learn about bundles. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so yeah. So you have the layered bundle practices. So the things is, good practices are what you need to do to have good practices. Oh, just 1 minute. If you can continue,
Yeah.
Sonia. Sorry.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so we were talking about layout bundle practices. So like we got two types of bundles just as Anthony discussed, the layout bundle and the functional bundles, and both of these have got their own best practices. So it's not like an overview it. We're also going to talk about the best practices. So the first thing is the layout bundles that you create should have a good look and a good feel always, else it's not good. I'm so sorry for that. I was getting a call. Yeah, so as it says, for look and feel, always use a standard design library, which could be Bootstrap, or a design system, which could be Carbon Design System or Material UI. So using these, you can make your bundles look really cool and fancy, and it's going to be in terms of looks, in terms of a good user experience. You'll score 100 out of 100. So these are a couple of examples that you could probably implement while you're building layout bundles. You can either implement in Bootstrap in your application, or you can implement a Carbon Design System or Material UI to design all the cool stuff that you're trying to do in your layout bundle. So that's the first best practice or good practice. And then it also says, we can take a look at the shorter bullet points. It says that select a design system early in the project to avoid rework later. So definitely Later it becomes very messy and confusing, so always try to do it initially in the start phase. The second one is recommend. It's a recommendation. Select a system that is component based. Well, that's something that we've been doing since the beginning of our developer journey. Anything that's component based is super duper useful. It rocks. Anything that isn't a lot component based isn't that fancy. So yeah, well, Anthony, you're back. I was covering the first point
Mm,
and the shorter bullet points. So you want to take
yeah.
up on the second, third, and fourth point?
Yeah. Well, just to complete that, the thing is, uh, using a design system is very
Mm-hmm.
good idea because it will help you to make all your component consistent. I think
Mm-hmm.
one uh, difficulty with composition will be to not have application that will look like patchwork. So like, oh, I have a lot of different things that look very differently, and I can have consistency across all these elements of my pages will be a bit weird. The good point is if you are using a standard library, or if you allow team people to use different configurations to configure it to have the same look and feel across the different components you have, that's a good point. So using Bootstrap is a good element, but Carbon Design System is a good one. Material UI, of course, also you can have your own design system in your company. So I know
Mm-hmm.
that some company are using and defining the
Their own
different.
design language standard. Yep,
Yeah. So
DLS.
so that
Mm-hmm.
is also a good strategy for a company, because that means you will ensure that all your components you will create will look the same things.
Mm-hmm.
And if you need to change that, you can expect people will be easily update them, because you are one reference that is the design system. So well, good practices. So select the design early. So if you don't have anything before, make sure that if you want to, especially if you are defining different bundles, you need to avoid to change to make some changes between different bundles. People will see it. So, and component based, that is a good options, because that means, for example, if you want a button, a form, if you want, I don't know, a progress bar or so on, you will it will be easier to use existing ones that will have the same look and feel once again. That is a good option. So yeah, one more thing is, if you want to make all these things coherent in your Entando application, you can use page templates or UX fragments to include common client-side libraries. So for example, UX fragment uh, is an Nintendo component that define a little bit of code you can include into your different pages
Mm-hmm.
or page templates. So that means if you want to reuse, let's say, an import of your JavaScript library into different, and let's say even you define one version, so you just need to define it once into a UX fragment, and you include this UX fragment into your pages through the templates, for example. So the good point is, once again, if you need to upload it or to change it one more time, you can do it. That's great. Uh, Use the Entendo CMS capability to enable content team to manage part of the application. So, of course, it's also, maybe it will be also the work for composers that will manage the content. So the content is an important part of the Nintendo application, because you can have macro content, but you probably also want some dynamic content you want to change, or you want to add new items in, or you want to upgrade oftenly. And what you need to do is to have something easily to catch up, easily to manage using a CMS. And
Right.
Yeah, the 4 point is the end bundler, but I'm not sure we will talk so much about that. But can be used to extract a bundle from the Nintendo app builder. The good point is, if you have installed bundles, you can also extract them using the end capabilities, the CLI capabilities. That is a good point, but it's more advanced and for some cases. But yeah, you need to know that. So
Mm.
then, what if we are focusing on functional bundle practices? So let's say one thing again. So the functional bundles uh, will contains non-specific Nintendo elements, and it can be considered as a full application. Okay. So the thing is, you will need to basically code. This is a good. By the way, I think this is a really good things for a
Mm.
composition is whatever you are trying to do, you have a part of coding. And for
Yes.
developers, I know that it's important. So that means,
Mm.
let's say, even if your ACP is covering 80% of your needs, but in the 20% less, you need to have very specific components. Okay, just code it. You
Mm.
don't need to, you are not restrained to what the hub contains. You can define your own components. And maybe, by the way, these components that you are waiting for, maybe other people will need it too, now or in the future. So that
Mm.
means just define them, develop them, create them, and make them available on the hub. So you will help future developers to being more productive. So the thing is, if we have good practices, what are well, we say that stay agile. So I think uh, all the things we defined will be better if you stay agile,
Mm.
definitively. So even the fusion team and all these roles and all the organization, I think will match better with an agile organization. Choose the technologies your team knows. So the good point, especially with Nintendo, is everything is running over Kubernetes, so into containers. So if you want to use Spring Boot as backend technology, yeah, that works. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to use Node.js, that works. Because definitively, what you need is to have a good definition of the different contracts. So even
Yes.
having a good contract or let's say contract first development like API first development or something like this will
Mm.
definitively help your team and help your users to define your components well. So that means having a good documented API that represent well the business is available or defined using open API. So, for example, that is perfect. That is very good.
Mm.
Next step is use vertical microfontaine approach. So the things is for microfontaine, I think you need to think about that as uh, a part of the business. So I think it's important. So you need to define them as well. We can say component of
Yeah.
your applications, of your
It's more.
UI.
It's more like splitting your applications into standalone components, so that
Yeah.
encompass everything from user interfaces to backend logic. So
Hmm.
it's something like that. That is what definitively comes under the vertical approach. That is what
Yeah.
I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important.
Hmm.
Well, once again, use a standard design system. So we already talked about that. So also, uh, we all know that we already have specifications, good specifications using Shadow DOM or custom properties, CSS
Mhm.
custom properties that comes with the web component meta specification. So
Mhm.
you can always refer to them. It's working anytime anyway with all the latest browser, so that's good. What's next is then you can use the Nintendo widget configuration. So, oh yeah, we didn't talk about that. It's very important. Is when you have a widget, so that means, let's say, when you have a microphone 10, and let's say you want to this microphone display something. If we take an example using the Nintendo banking bundle, banking application, so that it's made with different bundles. We have one microphone 10 made with Angular that is displaying in React, by the way. We have two different versions, one with Angular, one with React. And let's say you want to use this same microphone 10 twice, but displaying two different data uh, regarding the configuration we define.
Hmm.
You can do that. You can do that. So Entando allows you to define a configuration UI. So you can have a specific UI that is not available for your consumer, but is available. It will be used for your composer. That's okay. I want to use this widget, this microphone 10 at this place. What I need to do? Oh, I can change. I want to display not the data one, but I want to display the data two. It could be the same thing. So, for example, if you have, let's say, a component that can allow you by default display elements using cards, using list, using anything else, I don't know. So you can decide to say, hey, I want my default view is the card. And maybe your users can change that or not. But this is the difference. This is why we need a configuration UI, because it will allow you to use the same components, the same microphone, and multiple times, but with different final views.
Hmm.
Develop microservices configuration option using environment variables and secret injection. So I'm pretty sure that this is something people already do. I'm pretty
Well,
sure that this is not a specific good practice. A good practice specific to the ACP.
mhm.
But because we are talking about composition, you definitively adopt this way of managing your microservices. But I
Hmm.
will say that, yeah, even if I'm deploying something on my server, I will definitively use environment variables. So I don't want my microservice contain specific configuration into it. So that means I need to change that and rebundle everything. Um, this is not something we can imagine using bundles. This is just impossible. So because your users will use your components, you need to ensure that they will be reusable. And for that, you need to have variables. Next, the Entendo Bundle project. So just to let you know, if you need to
Structure.
deal with bundles, you have the CLI that will help you. So the CLI, this is what we call the Ent CLI. So when you create a new project using the Ent CLI, you will create a bundle. And inside the bundle, you will find a lot of different files that contains the bundle manifest for sure. So I know that we are currently working on improving this part, and you need to stay tuned about that. So probably we will have really good announcements to make soon. But that's true for the moment that you can create bundle from scratch using this AI. So it's
Mhm.
simplifying a lot of the process, a lot of all these elements you need to do, and um, you will. The idea is to let you focus on what you need to do. Is that mean coding your business?
Hmm. Hmm.
And yeah, one more point is you can use it into the CI/CD pipeline. I think that is very important. Is something we should that should be made. Let's say at first sight is when you start creating bundles, create pipelines that come with, so you can test them, you can analyze them, and you can automatically enable packaging, bundling, and deploying.
Right.
Well, what is the Nintendo Bundle project folder structure? So what you will have, you need to know that at this moment when we are talking now, you need to follow some requirements for your bundles. So all the backend code should be present in the src folder. All the bundle manifest file should be present in the bundle folder.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you can have a bundle src folder that will contain the default manifest files. So basically what you need to do is to copy this element into the bundle folder. And this bundled folder will be, let's say, the files that are in this bundled folder will be modified by the CLI to include all the elements you need when you are compiling, when you are packaging a new bundle. And of course, you have the UI folder that will contain all the different micro frontend. So UI for micro frontend, SRC for microservices, bundle for the manifest. And so you can have, that means, of course, that means in one bundle you can have also only micro frontend, only microservices, or you can have both. So you don't need to have these two elements, but of course you need to have at least one bundle descriptor, or let's say the bundle descriptor files, and UI or SRC for macro frontend or microservices.
Mm-hmm.
This is for the bundle sources project.
Perfect. This looks very useful and handy for
Yeah.
somebody who needs an overview of the folder structure. And always remember that your folder structure is very important. This is something that I've spoken about in my previous lives also. When I was teaching how to build a very simple bundle, I've told this many times, actually, because I've faced an error. So, in case you try to move anything in your project structure, it's going to hamper your entire bundling process. So, NCLI won't be able to bundle if you try to move a file to a different folder, especially the important files. Let's say there are shell files. So if you try to move those shell files from the outer directory to the innermost or some other directory, then there's going to be an issue because NCLI mainly reads the descriptor files and the shell files. Am I right,
Yeah.
Anthony?
Yeah,
So
yeah. And the thing is, we need to define. Well, I'm just figuring out something that is, what we're talking about is the bundled project. So the project is the sources that will contain the sources. So it contains the microservices code sources. It contains the micro frontend code sources. It will contain the different bundled sources files. And from that, when you will run your the NCLI, you will create the bundle, the final bundle, a tag version. So what I say, you will create a bundle that represents a state, a well-defined state of your project. You can then push into a Git repository and tag it. So this is what the CLI helps you to do. So when you want to deploy a new version of that, basically, it's like, when you have a Java application and you want to make a new jar of that and push it into your Nexus repository. This is the same thing. So what you need to do is to compile everything, pushing everything as well, let's say, bundling everything as a jar file, and then pushing that into a repository. So the bundle is following the same idea. Is when you have all the sources and when you want to package a new version, what you need to do is to use the CLI that will create, let's say, a specific view of your application as a bundle, and you will be able to push it on your repository. So this is what we're talking about. This is why you need to have the right folder structure, because the CLI will read the different elements, looking for different things, and compile everything, and finally make it available on your repository.
that's right.
So when I'm talking about that, this is just a quick view, even if it's quite important, but it's just a view of what you have when you are pushing a bundles is, so let's say the step one is when you are creating components. So you can use Gypster, for example, and the Nintendo blueprint to create components. So you will have micro frontends, microservices, page templates, and so on. Then you define the bundles. So you will push your code sources into a Git repository. But every time you want to create a new version of your bundles, let's say a new tag version, so to deploy a new version of this one, you will push the bundle into a new Git repository. This is how actually is working. So you have one repository for the sources and one for the tagged version of the bundle. Of course, for microservices, we are pushing the images on the Docker registry. But if you check the Git repository of the bundle, you will find that we have inside the different images defined as references. So that will be pulled then by Kubernetes and the Nintendo operator to create new containers. And of course, you have the bundle descriptor. And then next, if you check when you deploy it into the ACP, the Nintendo component repository, you will find different bundles, and you will be able to use them across your different applications. I'm just checking if I can have some example of that. So let me just take an example. I will let me just do a quick check.
Yeah, definitely. That'll be useful for our viewers.
Yeah, probably will be better. Let me check if I can share my. No. I want to share my screen. Okay. Okay. So you can see this is my screen. So I'm into the Nintendo samples repository. So if I check the banking demo, so let's say it's better to look for the standard demo. So if you check the standard demo here, so this contains all the sources of different bundles. So for example, if you check, let's say we can check the banking plugin that contains, if I'm checking the SRC, I will find Java code. In the main, Docker, banking, I have everything. So for example, I have an API here with resources. So for example, checking resources, I have my Java code. This is my application. This is my microservice. Okay. So this is basically something you can find in any application, or let's say classical application. Then we can keep this layout. This is not so bad, by the way.
Yeah, it was just so that we can see. I thought it was smaller. Yeah, it's okay.
We can. And if you check the UI widget, we can find that we have some banking widgets. So we can have, for example, the Alba icon React, the dashboard card. So I was talking about that before. Is you have a card to display some different elements. So this is you can find here a basic Angular application. Okay, but all the things you have here is something you can extract and use locally as a classical application. So you can start the Gyps, the backend, using the Maven wrapper. You can start the different micro frontend using the Angular CLI, for example. So this is not something specific related to Entando. But if you want, you can see that we have the bundle SRC. And so we have here the descriptor that define the different elements, all the components you can find in this project. So this is the project structure. So this is what we have when we talk about that. Let me just check it. So when we were talking about that, we were talking about the project structure. So this is exactly the same things that we
Mm-hmm.
have here. This is my project structure that's represent that. But if I want to use it, I need to compile everything and to publish it. And so what I will do is to copy the elements into the bundle src into a bundle folder, and then I will call the CLI to make the job. And then this application will create a bundle repository, or let's say will be pushed into a bundle repository. So for
Right.
example, if I check the standard demo banking bundle, so we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about the banking plugin. So in the banking bundle, you will find a tag version, a specific defined version, not a developed version. So you can see any code here, unless maybe if you check, for example, we can still have the card Angular, for example, and you can see here that you will probably find some code, but this is not readable. It's, by the way, it's not here. The code will be here in static, so you will only find JavaScript file static resources. But if you open that, this is not readable because it's supposed to be used in production. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you check the plugins folder, you will find that we only have the descriptor, and the descriptor is reference sees the specific image to create containers. So this is our Spring Gypsy Spring backend. Okay, so this project is up. If I go there, this project is the sources, and this project is, let's say, a snapshot of this bundle. And what we will use is this one. And every time we want to create a new version, we need to compile that and to push it here to make it available. So this is the difference between folder, let's say, project structure and bundle structure. Okay. This is why in this process we can find that the step one is to create elements and code them. And the second step is when you are defining a real bundle, reusable bundles, and you push it into the different registry. And then you can, from this element, use this application, or let's say use the different components into your applications. So if you let me share my screen again, wait a minute. So
It's
so
there.
that means from your Entando application. So let's say this is my Entando application. I hope it will work because I didn't use it for several days. So I will be able to access my dashboard, so my app builder, and into the repository. I can check I have different. I can check I have different bundles. So I just need to wait a little bit because everything is starting. So I just started before when I was talking. It's just that it's running, but I should be able to find here the different components. Oh, I have no component available, so that means I didn't install any components. What about if so let's say I have the standard banking bundle. So this is the bundle I was talking about. So I can access it because of the of course because of the hub. So I have the hub available here. So I will not install it now because it will take too many times. This is not exactly what we want to do now, but this is the ID. Oh yeah, I'm already. I need to switch. So if I have installed components, I should be able to have them here and see here. So basically my bundles, and then that means I will be able to check them into my different elements. Okay.
Perfect.
I just wanted to make it more clear
Mm.
for our viewers. Um, well, I think we define a lot of things in 1 hour long, so it's. I didn't expect it
Long
to
session.
to do this quite a long session, but
Yeah,
it's
but
good.
the explanation was worth it. So definitely doesn't matter. Uh, yeah, it was awesome. Like even I wanted to learn more about these two types of bundles so that
Mm,
it can help me, especially the best practices. So definitely it was very useful, and that's why I was just being a listener. And just listening to all the great things you were talking about, and that's definitely
yeah,
very educative and useful.
yeah.
So yeah.
I
Hmm.
think what is important for our creator is to ensure that when you are starting creating components
Mm.
or PBCs and bundles, you need to make it very clear. So you need to think about that. So what I will
Mm.
need. So I need to have one PBC. Okay, the PBC is a task calculator. That's great. So in this PBC, I will need one or multiple microfontaine. So that
Mm.
could be a form. So maybe that could be a results areas or results UI. I don't know. Maybe I will need to also have a configuration UI and
Mhm.
so on. So also I need to think about my backend components such as my different microservices. And if I need to have some content, I need also or layouts, templates, page templates. I need to think about that.
Mhm.
Then I can by following the functional bundles or layout bundles pattern, I can understand or I can groups my different elements. And maybe I can define different teams, by the way, into my teams. Like, oh, if you
Mm-mm.
want to work on the microphone and on the content at the same time, we can split the team into two different tasks. And then that will create different bundles. And we don't need the first one to do the second one, and same for the opposite. So finally, your PVC will be made by two bundles, three microfontaines, one microservice, and four one page template and two content elements, two content components. This is a possibility, and so that
Mm.
means you need to think about that at first sight, and then organize the team as the best as you can do, following the best practices. That's
Definitely.
great.
Awesome. Everybody,
One more
thanks
things.
for being here. Hmm.
Yeah, maybe we can talk about. You can follow us on Twitter, D
Hmm.
Sohini or Everyday4J. You can also follow the YouTube channel that is very helpful. We are looking for a lot of followers that will help us to grow and to continue creating all this exciting
More
content.
content. Yeah.
Yeah, so we will be happy to have you as a subscriber of the channel on Twitter. Feel free to connect us there. And, well, we are organizing live oftenly, something like one per week. And
Hmm.
also, we are making more exciting videos. So I think that we have a lot of, in the parking lot, we have a lot of good videos.
Exciting things.
Uh,
Yep.
yeah, and I will be very happy to share them with your team.
Hmm.
That's great. That's all
Awesome.
for today.
Thanks for being
That's
here,
great.
everybody. Have a great
Anything
rest of
else?
the
I
day.
don't think so.
Yeah.
That's great. So we
Yep.
have next probably next stream next week. I don't know for the moment exactly what it will be about, but be sure to follow us on Twitter. We make
We'll soon come
advertisement.
back.
Yeah,
Mm.
soon. And that's great for today. See you. Bye
Bye.
bye.
Bye, Anthony.